Okay, the loophole on the roads closed. This was brought to attention because of the deaths of Fernando Marino and Karen McGovern up in Carlton, and the driver who was not drug tested despite having a history with heroin, and despite not being able to explain how it happened. Now, on the line, I've got the minister with me, but on the line is Peter McGovern, who's the father of Karen, the woman killed. He now cares for the children. Peter, good morning.
Good morning, Noel.
I wonder just if you could stay with us, have a listen, and then I'd like to get your reaction to what is happening. The Minister for Police, Kim Wells, good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
What will you do?
So we're bringing in a bill called the Road Safety Amendment Mandatory Drug Testing Bill 2014, and that's going to amend the Road Safety Act of 1986 to make it mandatory for Victoria Police to require a blood or urine sample to be taken from all drivers involved in a motor vehicle accidents where serious injury or there's been a fatality, and where the driver is not admitted for medical treatment. And that's what happened in this particular case. Had the person been, the driver, been admitted to hospital, there would have been drug and urine. Because there was no injury to the driver, that's where the loophole has been found.
That was the nature of the loophole. So you're confident this closes that loophole?
There's no question. This is very clear, and it's also the toughest mandatory drug testing regime in the country now, that if you're involved in an accident where you have fatally, where there's been a fatality, where you have seriously injured somebody, but you haven't been injured yourself, i.e. that you don't go to hospital, the law will be that you will now have to have a mandatory drug and urine test.
I was amazed it didn't exist before, weren't you?
Well, I assumed that that would have been the case. So this case highlighted it, and we've been very pleased. We've had discussions with Andrew Scipione, the Chief Commissioner of New South Wales, police here, TAC, Vic Roads, Department of Justice, Department of Health, to get to this point.
What do you think? Will it spread to New South Wales, possibly, this?
Well, when I spoke to New South Wales, they were not keen on mandatory testing. What they believe is that the police turn up to the scene of the accident, they interview the driver, and then they'll make a determination whether or not that person should go to a hospital for a mandatory drug or drug test, blood or urine. We're saying we're taking that discretion away. It will be mandatory.
Okay, now Peter McGovern, what do you think? It would seem that this loophole you and I have talked about is now closed.
Yeah, it's great. I know it's not helping our family, but it's like the inspector said there, it's opened up where the fault was, and hopefully that fault is closed now, and it'll help some other family with this incident if it ever happens again.
Well, as you say, it doesn't help your family, but when we talked about it, you said it's got to be done to help others, and that's the achievement, isn't it?
Sorry, mate?
That's the achievement, that it will help other families in similar position now.
That's right. Yeah. It will help other families. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Peter. We'll get you more details. So, Minister, just to make that absolutely clear, if anybody is involved in a fatality or a crash causing serious injury, there will be mandatory blood and urine test, or urine test for drugs.
That's correct. It will be mandatory. So the police will turn up, look at the situation, take advice from the ambulance. If there's been a fatality or a serious injury, as defined under the Act, then that person will be taken away for a mandatory blood and urine test for drugs.
Because when you look at it, I mean, in this case, as an example, nobody knows why it happened. She's gone through a red light that's been red for some time. She's speeding. She has got a history of heroin use, although she says she wasn't using. Nothing done to establish whether she's under the influence.
And when we spoke about this initially, when the court case came up in May, if you think about it from a parent's point of view, you would want to know the result. You would want to know why this has happened. And I believe by closing this loophole, that will now give some comfort to people like Peter, who will say, look, it doesn't bring back their daughter, we understand, but it's going to make it a fairer, better system in the future.
When can that go through Parliament?
So it'll be first read, second read today, and then it will obviously sit on the book. And when Parliament resumes in December, then we hope that that will go through the system.
Okay, so it won't be through before the election?
Well, we'd love it to, but that won't be the situation. There has been intensive consultation between Vic Roads, Police, TAC, Department of Health, Department of Justice It has been extensive, plus looking at the New South Wales legislation, we decided to go a different way to New South Wales, and that has also caused, I guess, further consultation to get people over the line.
Well, okay, it'll be there in December after the election. I guess I need to talk to the Labor Party, see whether they'll support it in case they're in government. Do you know whether they do?
We haven't discussed that with the Labor Party, but when it's being introduced, then I will have those discussions to make sure that this is ticked off as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I can't imagine why they'd object to it.
Talking Melbourne.